Pani saya mau panjangan su. Pani saya. Thank you.
Isn't time sometimes 1 minute can be like 100 years? I took that yesterday back down to my room. I should have left it in the office. That's mine.
Okay, so good morning and prepare in this prayer to Manjushri. Lama dangumbo jamba yang lan chanza lo kange lon Jimnyen Tenda Nitra Namda Rabsa Jinyen Denge Jijin Zijre Nijin Tukar Lekbam Zen Kanda Zip Zenora Mari Mendo Dunga Jizre Dozo Kanla Pujin Tarze Yen Lion Juju Yanden Zon Judaren Jedro Nyemo Nyilo Leji Jandro Dulze Mare Menzen Donga Nyugo Jinyen Junze Ralje Nandene Daji Saji Tarzen Yenden Lizon Jazen Tuve Chudan Chudan Chunyin Jinde Dale menzen jambe Yonla ende Umara Bazanande 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 Den Zeden Jiji Chenro Wizard Dalen Demo Member of Zan Kadon Denje Shonlon Dombaye Lodre Pobe No Sandu and Zonji Donji Jimo Redan Jimburjan Zinjada Kadin Sunda Majiba Palo Jinji Jinja Besha Jindu Jima Mebala Guera de Bozungu Bajime Gonen Chanza Jinjab Zojio Shivan and Zaram Damji Dutu Jinjas Dunzimbranje Dozo Kangisha Sandaim Mendola Jin Zimbeziwe Zindum Barvendo Gunmi Gindu Zinjurun Tuji Dama Kune Juren Jitensum Jikonjabe Tumbe Mogarbe Jabe Tirindale Yenzoro Jon Jenzolembe Mendombo Zarenjave Namdoranjun Ninjido Zenzo Beje Inden Chombarwe Pema June Dale Yenzoro Jon Gumbulu Darian Dewandan Tome Nyen Cholon Chujindan Chujun Janum Nimbaozo Zamlin Jinjo Nam Jinda Ejon Gale de Garin Jinyimbe Golo Yenden Gunjunga Vishasardo Nimbi Tensi Bebe Nanjarba Longjin Ramjam Shabjin Da Ejon Ridon Jamba Juno Jino Le Bumbi Lon Le Pupi Terjedo Londo Chinse Jamse Mawanjur Mifam Jambi Anjin Da Ejon Kongi Dala Riba Loba Dan Doji Tenje Menga Nang Laso Laba Zaldan Ungurishin Lambi Meju Tinchen Lamin Da Ejon Namonguro Jinyin Pumin Dunji Shazala Kunja Ranjun Duji Jimbe Jin Duji Kala Kamen Danawa Palden la me jajenda ejon yende sanje kunda nyamna yang kadin sanje kunel habe gan zavi la me jala soande azon do jindro wara shinje lo ondo juju dongi jidena ande jelo mar jurba kan soda tender dambe chu jinja membe sembar de bata dan dirje je namo aryan damba lai ke dan lo dan jinge nduvanda dame ke namda duwa kunji danam jizambar Tamjeke do sosuru te gyurji. Majurindo anam kadanyam besim jen tamje namdol tenji dewa lana meba yanda banzo bisanji jimbo hanram burchela. Chine jam gobra sha tei chedu teba chimbi shunglu Chanju simbi chobalan jupan teni tsushindu senne nyamsu langwal jo nyamdu samba chanju chobu tu jebadan chete sen tsal. So first that the purpose or the intention of studying this scripture, the how to say, studying the Mahayana path or trying to implementing the Mahayana path. For that, and what we need, the intention is the altruism or the altruistic or the bodhicitta. And first we need to generate that. And how to generate that is that thinking begins from the one's dearest, and then how that one have some sort of like a naturally automatically that willing to support and help and prevent the difficulties towards one's dearest, and how we have that willing, the same sense, and then try to spread it out or share and to have to the each and every sentient beings, and first try to look all the sentient beings as equal to the your dearest one, and then how one willing to support and prevent and help one dearest, in the same way also to all the other sentient beings. And then the ultimate support or the preventing difficulties is to lead them to complete enlightenment. And for that purpose, and I'm going to listening this Mahayana scripture, and then I will going to put into practice, or I will implement it. And with that kind of intention, and listen this the Mahayana scripture, the way of Bodhisattva's life. And then beside that, also while listening Dharma teachings, the manner or the conduct that one should prepare in this way, that listen carefully in an excellent way and then try to hold it. And with this, both the kind of like a manner or the conduct from the kind of like the outlook, the physical or in a mental, that prepare in this way. And then after that we will studying this actual teaching. And then actual teaching, the way of Bodhisattva's life, and which has a 10 chapter and the 4 main theme. So the 10 chapter with the main 4 theme, the first 3 chapters, it's describing the first theme of this scripture or this books, these teachings, which is how to have the bodhicitta within oneself and how to receive the bodhisattva's vow in a proper way within oneself. And then the second theme is the guided by 4th, 5th, and 6th, these 3 chapters, which is, and after able to generate this bodhicitta, after receive this vow, then how to maintain properly without letting transgress, and then even transgress it, how to repair. And all this is also talking in this second theme. And then the third theme is that how one can develop further this bodhicitta, and until what stage that there is a possibility to improve or develop. And that's the third theme, which is explained by these teachings. And then the last 4th theme is the last chapter, the chapter number 10, and it is introducing that how to dedicate one's merit properly and how to make aspirations after dedications. And this last theme is introducing or kind of like the guiding how to dedicate and make aspirations properly. So in this way, that this whole kind of like a theme of this teaching is, these are the main 4 things trying to introduce by Shantideva to all of us. And then among this 4 theme, the first theme, which is we completed, and then we are in a second theme, that how to maintain properly without transgressing. And for that, and mainly that what we need is the sense of carefulness, and then the vigilant and introspection, and the patient. So these are the 3, or actually 4, but the vigilant and introspection is count as a 1. So these are 3 are the things that whoever able to train themselves very well, and those will going to be able to maintain this bodhisattva's vow properly without letting transgress. So whoever wish to not to let it transgress. And these are the three things, mainly three things that we need to train to have within oneself. That's our kind of like a training or practice or training whatsoever, implement. That's what we need to try to have it, these three things. And then among these three things, and two of them we uh, completely, we how to say, completed. And now we are here in the third, this patient, how to have it, how to train and oneself, how to train oneself to have this sense of patience, or how to have a patient. And when the, how to say, how to have a patient, yes. And then to that, and this sixth chapter, hold this one chapter, the sixth chapter, and introducing, and then from the beginning, the faults of anger, and then the later, the, what do you call it, the situations or the circumstances, introducing the circumstances that when normally we get anger, and what kind of situations. And then the elaborate 72, and if we shrink it down, mainly it's 24. And then even within this 24, the main are the four circumstances. Those four circumstances that when it occurs to oneself, one get anger. When any of those four circumstances happens to one's relative, and one's get anger. And then reversely, those four things, when it occurs to one's foe or enemy, and we get anger, and that way. And then the what do you call it, that same reverse those four when the, what do you call when someone disturbs or interrupt to have those four things within oneself. And then whoever interrupt in between, and at that moment we will get anger towards the other. And then as well as towards my relative, when those four favorable conditions about to happen to my relatives, and in between, if someone interrupt or disturbed to happen that, then at that time we get anger. And then the four, mainly for this kind of like the, what do you call that, how they translated in the stanza 11, right? On stanza 11, the pain, humiliation, insult, and or rebuke. So those four things, when it is about to happen to one's enemy, and then in between someone interrupt or prevent or disturb that to happen to my enemy, and then at that time we get anger. So these are the mainly 24 circumstances that normally that we human gets short temper when this kind of situations occur to oneself. And the introducing these circumstances, then after introduce these circumstances, then how to deal with it, how to deal with its circumstances or situations, and then to have a patient. Then the mainly Shantideva's kind of like introducing this three main point that what do you call the patient of accepting pain, and then patient in certainty in dharma, and then patient kind of like how to say, patient in not caring about harmers. So these are the main thing, 3 point, and within each point there are many different skills and method that Shantideva provided in these teachings. And then likewise, he also provided many other skills. So mainly actually that he introduced all these 24 circumstances and how to deal when any of those 24 circumstances occur. and how to deal. And that's all skill is main subject, or the kind of like the main method or the skills how to deal with the anger emotion and how to have a patient that completed. And then now here I told you earlier, so from here Shantideva was giving kind of like another 3 different tips also helps us to have a patient. And those 3 tips are actually the what do you call those tips are also very sufficient method and skills. And may somebody these tips methods will going to be more suitable for someone. It could be possible too. And or even though I'm just saying here, I'm using the tips, but actually the Shantideva was not saying tips, okay? Shantideva was still, these are the method. So the mainly how to deal with those circumstances, it's complete. And then beside that, there's also, he's providing 3 different methods. He's just providing 3 different methods. So I just said it, so 3 different tips, so you can memorize easily or you can understand easily. So what are those 3 tips? So those 3 tips are actually, what do you call it? Yeah, it is Semjin. Semjin la kubar shawa la sonam ji shingdu samde kubar shawa dance. That the first tip is that understanding the beings are also the field of merit, equal like Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. How the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are considering as a field of merit, and same way that beings are also the field of merit. But understanding that or thinking that way, and then rather than getting anger to the beings, and we should pay reverence. And that's the one tip. And then the second tip is thinking of how it pleased the victorious and the reverence to the beings. That's the second tips. And then the third tips is the thinking the consequences of benefit and disadvantage. Thinking of it and the rather than getting anger towards beings and reverence. So these are the 3 different tips. So even though I said earlier, we are using here the tips, but actually each of those tips is very complete method, complete skills that help us to deal with the anger emotions, and then how to have a patience within oneself. So among these 3 tips that we are in a first tips, which is that the understanding the beings are also the field of merit as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So understanding that and thinking that, and rather than getting anger to the beings, others, and reverence. So how to have that reverence instead of anger? And we also talked almost some skills until this stanza 114. So that today we are here in the 115 stanza 115. That it is still talking about that the tips, the first tips, that you need to listen all this, you need to try to understand all these teachings, that based on a concept of that this is all talking about the how the beings are also the field of merit as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So how you say it in Tibetan, chamsem denla chöba gang deni semjin chewa nit sanje debi sonam gang deyang sanje chewa nit. So this stanza 115, that how they translate it is, the offerings made to those with loving minds reveal the immanence of living beings. Merit that occurs from the faith in Buddha shows in turn the Buddha's immanence. So what does it mean? That this stanza, it is saying that generally that person, whoever kind of like a being loving kindness, loving kind, when the person being loving kind. And particularly what it is saying is that when someone meditate in loving kindness, that we have this four immeasurable, right? Four immeasurable practice in order to maintain this aspiration bodhicitta within oneself properly. So how one can maintain the aspiration bodhicitta within oneself is to meditating upon this four immeasurable. So meditating for immeasurable or thinking oftenly for immeasurable help us to maintain this aspiration bodhicitta, not to lose the aspiration bodhicitta. So among these four immeasurable, the first one is loving kindness, immeasurable of loving kindness. So here, generally, it is just talking about the person whoever having this loving kindness, and particularly the person who is meditating upon loving kindness. And that type of person, the offering made to those with the loving minds. That's what it means. And that is the kind of like a now actually what it is really talking about is that comparing, this is also comparative, comparing that I offer some support, help, or they offer flowers or food or money to the normal person, that let's say like a beggar, that I offer to the beggar who is very much needed this my support, that food or money whatsoever, and then offering that, yes, it is kind of like a great, it is very helpful to that particular beggar. And then on the other hand, let's say I am also offering, supporting or offering food, flower, money, and whatsoever to the person who is being loving kindness and who is particularly who is meditating upon loving kindness. So both are actually great. But within this, when we compare these two and which one is considered as a greater, then that becomes the, how to say, offering to the person who is meditating upon loving kindness. That action becomes better or greater than the other. So now here, what it is talking about, offering made to those with loving minds reveal the immanence of living beings. This, I don't understand this one, the reveal the immanence of living beings. Ani, what it is talking about? So the immense, I know, yeah, I know the immense, but reveal the immanence of living beings. What it is, how it is really showing that main point here. This all teachings, the mainly it has to show that how the beings are also the field of merit. How beings are field of merit, and how has the what you call a power in beings. Yeah, that's I didn't understand. Okay, so anyway, I thought it that maybe when you guys reading this English, you may have some sense of understanding better than me, because this my English is like that and limited. So, but however, let me explain here. What does it really means in Tibetan here? And so as I said earlier, comparing this two person, right? This two activity, not person, the activity of supporting and generosity, offering to the beggar, and the support of offering to the person who is being meditating upon loving kindness. And then as earlier I said that compare this two activity, the other one, that offering to the person who is being meditating in loving kindness, it's greater. Why it is greater? And then it is saying it is all because that that object, that person who is meditating upon loving kindness, become greater object of our offering. It is because of the beings. And if there's no beings, and then to whom he or she generate this loving kindness, and then that person who is meditating upon loving kindness become the greater and better object than the other object. It is all because of sentient beings, because of beings, in short, because of beings. So he have that beings as an object for his loving kindness meditation. That because of the beings, he is able to meditate in loving kindness, and because of being able to meditate in loving kindness, and that person becomes greater object to offer. See, that is also that how what Shantideva was saying. It is the power of beings that other persons becomes greater object because of the power of beings, and that other beggar doesn't have that much kind of like the power, because that beggar doesn't thinking about any other beings rather than himself or herself. So that's all. So anyway, so the point here is that the person who is being meditating in loving kindness becomes greater object of our offering. It is all because of the beings. That's how it is understandable that beings are also the field of our merit. And then especially it is specifically describing that someone in that the what you call a fourth level of samadhi meditation. This kind of we call this samden shibitingizin. That is the samadhi which is considering as the what you call a perfect samadhi. It is not greatest among the samadhi. It is not greatest. It is very in the middle. That within the samadhi, generally there is a 9 stages of samadhi. 9 stages of samadhi, and Shakyamuni Buddha himself, and when he achieved the enlightenment, he utilized this samadhi, which is the 5th samadhi, which is among the 9. It is exact in the middle. Among the samadhi, shamatha or the samadhi, it is not considering as a greatest samadhi. There's still 4 other above this one. There's a 4 other level that which is very thorough and the better, greater samadhi. And this 5th samadhi, and it is very among the samadhi, it is the very middle samadhi, which is actually for the practice the what you call the path of liberation or path of enlightenment. And that samadhi is very perfect to practice this path of liberation and path of enlightenment. And Shakyamuni Buddha himself, and he utilized that stage of samadhi to accomplish enlightenment. And here, this particularly the person who have that kind of like a stage or the power of samadhi. And then in that samadhi, he's using that samadhi to meditate upon the loving kindness. And when the person who have this capability of meditate upon this fifth stages of samadhi, and then he utilizing that samadhi to meditate the loving kindness. And then that type of person, when he or she just awake from the loving kindness meditation, right after awaking from the meditation of loving kindness, and then whoever able to make offer to that object, that particular person, and that kind of action becomes the immediate result karma, which has a potential to produce the fruition of our action immediately within this life, within a very short period. And that kind of potential is there. It is also that particular person who has this capability to meditate upon this fifth level of samadhi, and then using that fifth level of samadhi to meditate the loving kindness. And then right after awake from this fifth stages of samadhi, and then whoever able to make offering to that person, that action becomes the the immediate fruition, that it will produce its fruition immediately. That kind of action, it becomes that powerful action. And then that is also saying why that particular person became the very great object to whom, if anyone make offer, that action becomes action becomes the cause to produce fruition immediately. Why? It is also becomes that because of the beings that that particular person, the the meditating the loving kindness based on beings, and without beings, and then this meditation is just becomes samadhi, not really loving kindness meditations. So that without having this loving kindness meditation, and then just having that fifth stage of samadhi will not going to make that person as that great object of our offering actions, our offering. So that's the specifically that way. And generally, whoever being meditating upon loving kindness, and those are considered as a greater object than the others because of this loving kindness. And this loving kindness because of the beings. So therefore, that's how Shandideva was proving that the beings are also the field of merit. And likewise, the merit that occurs from the faith in Buddha shows in turn the Buddha's immense. So likewise, that on the other hand, this is an example, almost like an example. When I am able to generate the faith towards Buddha, and then when I am able to generate faith towards just other beings than Buddha, then that faith action, it's same, that I generated faith, and I generated faith in both. Yes, I generated faith in both. It is same. So from my action, it is same. There's no difference. But this object, this action, the related, the object, the related of this action is the what do you call it? The object of this action, yes, the object of this action is different. One is Buddha and another is just ordinary. And then Buddhas and another is ordinary. Although my faith action is same, but the object is different, and that makes this my faith action, it's one is better than the other. It is all because of the power of Buddha. And that's how Buddha is considering as a field of merit, not every others, not every other ordinaries. And Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are considering as the field of merit. And similar like that way, and then beings are also the field of merit. That's what it is talking about. Sanje chudup chayo ba tena teda nyambar de yenden jansu tayo be sanje namda gami nyams. And then now here, although not one of them is equal to the Buddhas who are ocean of perfection, because they have share in bringing forth enlightenment, being may be likened to the Buddhas. Likened to the Buddhas. Okay. So this stanza is what it is really saying is that it is, I'm not saying it is equal or the same from their qualities, their characteristics. Why I am saying equal and same, it is because that both has this potential, or though both has this some share, that how Buddha became perfect object for us to achieve enlightenment, and similarly the beings are also the perfect object of our achieving enlightenment. And that portion, that part, and both Buddha and being has the same potential. From that perspective, I'm talking about this equal and same. I'm not talking about equal from their characteristic and their qualities. And this is what it means. 연된 촉촉 직부이 연된 시에점 가식라 나나 델라 최den도 감순푸연 총알 girls. The next one, if of such a gathering of supreme excellence, a tiny part appear in certain beings, the three worlds made in offer to them would be very little things. Would be very little things. Okay, so what this stanza really mean now? What this stanza really mean is that this supreme qualities, the Buddha has this many supreme qualities. And then, okay, this is something we need to understand that one. To the sum, or we can say like to the beings, and particularly to the human beings, and then some human beings, they have some of Buddha's qualities. For instance, what is talking about the supreme qualities, the supreme excellence, they use the excellence, the supreme excellence. A tiny part appeared in certain beings, right? Those supreme excellence, the gathering of supreme excellence. What Buddha has this supreme excellence are, normally we used to say this 10 power, 4 fearless, and then 18 unmixed state, mandeba jobje, and 18 unmixed state characteristic. 18 unmixed state characteristic, 4 fearless, and 10 power. So 10 power. So let's say from the 10 power, that some of the power is like this. The power of being able to kind of like the understand very properly and what action produce exact its result, and what action does not produce the result. That like that, the power of understanding exact how the karma works, in short, the power of understanding how karma works properly or exactly. That's the one power of among the 10 power. And then likewise, there's also that another power. These powers are considering as a Buddha's qualities, Buddha's characteristics. And the also like the what is it called, understanding the others' interest, others' element, understanding the others' element or others' interest, and very exactly like that kind of powers. And this whole complete 10, 4, 18, complete in one person, that's Buddha, right? But some human beings may have, like this one, how they're translating, a tiny part appeared in certain beings. And there's some part of those characteristic or quality and could have in certain human beings, or generally beings, or particularly certain human beings could have it. And then what Shantideva was saying, when someone, some being, and particularly human being, when they endowed with any of this, even a tiny part of the Buddha's quality in that particular human beings, and then that human beings becomes perfect object. And then what it is saying, that now this is Shantideva, after introducing this one properly, what Shantideva was saying, like, okay, now the worth, he's comparing the worth, the what do you call it? Normally, ordinary beings, maybe it is not worth object of offering everything, right? Offering how they translate it, the 3 worlds made in offering to them would be very little thing. So the normally the beings who doesn't have any of these qualities, who doesn't have any of these tiny qualities, it is not, maybe not worth of, it is not perfect object. Yes, it is not perfect object or not worth to offer this whole 3 worlds, right? And then when, on the other hand, when someone endowed or possess any of those tiny part of characteristic which has a Buddha, for instance, I give you 1-2 example. And if anyone has this kind of characteristic in them, and then that makes that person's to perfect object or the worth to even offer this 3 words. And how Shantideva was saying, even 3 words, it is little thing. It is not really exact perfect, the what do you call offer. Even that is tiny or small, it becomes like that. It makes that's really showing the how the object is more worth than what we are making offer. So through that way, what Shantideva was also trying to introduce us here is that the beings, these are the beings' power of the beings. And then that particular who have any of those tiny part of Buddha's quality, they are a being, right? And then that kind of being, we never know who they are. We cannot see this kind of characteristic, whether that person possess or not, whether that person endowed with this kind of Buddha's characteristic or not. We cannot, predict by their outlook, right? In their face, they will not going to show this. You cannot say, oh, this person has this characteristics because I can see in his face or her face, right? So this is what Shantideva also what he's trying to proving is that what he's trying to proving is the beings are the field of merit. So we never know who have that kind of characteristic or not. So better, rather than getting mad on anger towards other beings, reverence. That's what it means, right? Main subject of this all teaching is that, right? Rather than getting anger towards other beings, particularly human beings, let's say, reverence. Instead of anger, hatred, reverence. That's what he's trying to let us understand, right? So this how he's trying to let us have that sense is through this way. So this is all because of the beings. That type of beings, and we never know. Maybe he or she is among in a very ordinary look out there, and that kind of person is there. And normally that I remember that our late holiness used to advise us while we are in a monastery, that he used to advise us that we must reverence or respect to every monk, because every monk, it is 100% sure among the 4 monks, there will going to be one is Bodhisattva. So you never know who is that one, but 100% sure. It is like a at least, okay? It is talking about the at least. Don't take it as or if there is a 10 or 12 and there's only 3 Bodhisattvas. Don't take it as this way, okay? It could be all of 12 Bodhisattvas too. Here, what our late one is telling us is at least each and every 4 months, there will going to be one Bodhisattva. That is at the least. So he used to advise us that. So therefore, and reverence, respect to every monk regardless. He used to tell us this. He used to advise us this. And these are very similar here, right? Shantideva, what it is saying, that the person whoever endowed or possessed the tiny part of Buddha's quality, that makes that person much more worth than offering all these 3 words. Offering 3 words to that type of person is actually nothing. You are not really offering what the other object is actually exactly worth. Means he is much worth than your offering. And then on the other hand, who knows this type of person is where? Right? So therefore, Shantideva indirectly letting us understand we need to pay respect and reverence regardless of beings. We never know among the beings who possessed, who endowed with those characteristics or not. Similar like that our late holiness, very same advice here. Very same, exactly same advice, right? Our Lord Holiness used to advise us that regardless, you should pay reverence and respect to all the monks, because every 4 months there will going to be at the least one bodhisattvas. That is some sort of like a, at least he used to advise us. So this kind of, okay, so whether it is, even though, okay, let's say even though it is not really truth or fact, still for myself having that mindset, it's very the kind of beneficial, very helpful, because when I have that kind of mindset, then I will not going to easy to judge others. I will not going to the what you call criticize others easily. I will not going to disrespect other easily. I will always going to concern others. And when that is all capability, I could have it when I have that kind of mindset, that how they advised me, right? If I don't have that mindset, then okay, who cares then? He is such and such person. So what? Who cares? We may say that. But sometimes when we are very angry, we say that, right? And when somebody is saying to you, for instance, okay, when someone tell to me, oh, you better behave properly, you better not get angry to that person. That person is such and such, very good, great. And then, who cares? I may say, if I'm very in a moody and anger, then I may say, so what? Who cares? That is his. This is not me. This is none of my business here. Oh, yeah, the Canadian style. This is none of my business. Yeah, we may say that very easily, right? This is all because when we don't have that education, when we don't have that mindset. And having that mindset, now it helps us to prevent to become a very careless. It helps us. But actually, these are fact, reality. Because those kind of great master like our Lord Holiness and this Shantideva, they will never going to lie. There's no purpose for them to lie. So our Lord Holiness used to tell us this one. And then Shantideva as well here, exactly Shantideva saying. And yet this is truth. That's, as I said earlier, that within a human being, there are some, right, who knows exactly how karma works, how karma kind of like produce its result. They have this kind of intelligence. They have this kind of knowledge. They have that kind of recognition, right? So that means that particular human being has some tiny part of Buddha's characteristic on it, isn't it? So this is how Shantideva's kind of like proving that beings are the field of merit. So rather than getting anger, hatred towards beings, and be cautious and reverence and respect, pay respect. This kind of understanding, I think, very important, very necessary. As I said earlier, even though it is fact, but it is very worth to have it. But actually, these are not fact, as I said earlier. Even though it is fact, even though it is not truth, but it's still having that kind of understanding and knowledge, its mindset, it's very much helpful. So you will always deal with this kind of like a very proper way, right? Not in a kind of like a slander way. You will never going to try slander any others. You will never going to try disdains others when we have that kind of mindset. Because of lacking this kind of mindset, understanding, and then we have here cheating each other, bullying each other, and then kind of like a disdaining, slandering, insulting, right? Insulting, yeah, insulting. This is all. It is also one reason is, yeah, there's a many reason. The one reason is that lacking of this kind of knowledge, this kind of mindset. When person has this kind of mindset, at least that person will going to be cautious, be care, even though 100% unable to practice it, but at least that being very cautious, and it prevents a lot to misbehave. Otherwise, we encountering lots of misbehave, right? For instance, I myself, just yesterday, I also had that kind of the, what you call, somebody's trying to treat in a very bad way, not treating kind of like a proper, because to them they don't have this kind of mindset. Oh, if the other, those person who is treating us a bad way, if they have that kind of mindset, oh, that I should not disrespect the beings, I should not hate it or anger towards beings, it is very wrong. Rather than anger, hate it, disrespecting, I should reverence to beings, I should respect to beings. If they have that mindset, they will not going to treat, misbehave, right? They will not going to treat us in a very bad. They will not going to, they will not dare to do this, isn't it? So that kind of the what do you call, potential is there by having this kind of mindset. Anyway, and then the next one, Sanje Chucho Kewi Shi Semjen Namla Yupe Na Disam Daki Chatune Semjen Chuja Rikbar Gurusung. Since there lies in beings a share in bringing forth a supreme and enlightened state, by virtue of this parity, is it parity? This parity alone, it's right that I should reverence them instead of hatred and anger. So you see, this is tips actually, as I said earlier, but this tip itself is very complete skill how to deal with the anger. So brainwashing, once we need to convince ourselves and wash our brain in this way, in this. So yes, actually the brainwash word is actually very negative itself, but actually brainwash, you see, if you just literally go with the word, it is very nice. You wash your brain, which is dirty before. Which is dirty, why? Because before we don't have that kind of mind, right? Before we don't have that kind of mind that able to see the beings are also the field of merit. We don't have that mind. I never have, let's say, I never have that mind that I am seeing the beings are equal as the Buddhas. I'm never seeing that before. That is my dirty brain, dirty mind. That dirty mind, dirty brain has to wash by studying this. This is the exactly the, what do you call it, cleaner or the water or the soap to wash my brain. Shampoo to wash my hair. These are the shampoo. Yeah. These are the water. These are the soap that which helps to wash our this dirty brain, dirty mind. which is unable to see the beings are filled of merit. So brainwash. I should brainwash myself using this method. Yeah. Normally, when we say brainwash, everybody goes very negative. Oh, be careful, be careful. He or she will going to brainwash you. Actually, brainwash, the literally word brainwash is good actually. There's no bad. And how to say, telling some lie and then letting other to set according to their lie. That's actually not brainwash, brain dirty, making brain dirty. That's not washing, isn't it? We need to think very carefully. Sometimes now the brainwash is become very well known as a negative word. Actually, literally, it is not negative. It is very positive. We need to wash our mind, our brain, by all this method. And how to say, conveniencing or converting somebody through cheating, through lie. That's not brainwash, actually. That is kind of like a make brain dirty, not wash, right? Anyway, this is funny, isn't it? That's language now. Some language are like that. It just becomes like without any analyzing, it just becomes well known. Everybody, as soon as we say brainwash, everybody will think negative. That is different of well known or become fame. This word is become fame in negative. So anyhow, so so it is same again, this last stanza, 118. The Sanjay Chunjo Gyushes, the supreme, this kind of like a, there is some share or some part in beings that help me to achieve those certain kind of like a Buddha's quality through them, through beings, right? For instance, Buddha has this characteristic of being able to patient in any circumstances. That's the Buddha's quality, right? And that kind of patient quality, I can get it based on other beings. If there's no beings, and particularly enemy, if there's no being in general, if there's no enemy particular, then I cannot have patient characteristic, patient quality. I can have a patient quality, patient characteristic, same as how Buddha has. I can have it when I have an enemy, when I have a other being. Isn't it? So, just from that perspective, and beings are also proper right object of our reverence and our offer. That's what Shantideva was saying in last. This is first tip is complete. Now from here, the second tips, which is thinking of how to please victorious and reverence to beings. Okay? And from this stanza 119 to 127, almost 9 stanza. This whole 9 stanza talking about this subject, okay? This subject, which is thinking of how to please victorious and reverence to beings. Now, this skills, it's very much works to those individual or those person who putting their God as a greatest reference for them to behave, or their teacher or their Buddha as a greatest reference for themselves to behave properly. There are a person like that, right? That kind of person is in every religious, believe me, every religious. Even I saw some histories that some Christian, even in a Christian, let's say for example, one Christian, and then they advising some priests, they advising his disciple, oh, we should please God regardless, no matter what. He's using God as a kind of like something that as long as he is happy, he is pleased, then your life is settled. Your life, purpose of life is done. That kind of belief is there, right? Likewise, in a Muslim, oh, for sure. As long as Allah is pleased, your life is settled. Purpose of your life is complete. You don't need anything else now. As long as you're able to make Allah pleased, it is equal, you have everything. Likewise, in a Buddhism too, as long as you can please the Buddha, your life is settled. And likewise, in a Hindu too, as long as you can make happy, pleased your God. So now, this advice is very suitable for person who have that kind of mental. Okay, so now I ask you to listen all this skill method, what they were providing from here. This is stanza 119 to 127. Listen based on that concept. If you don't have that kind of mindset, just set it while you're listening this teaching. Then you will understand better what he's really trying to advising to those type of person. There are people, right? And then how he's trying to let us have a patience rather than anger. Yeah, mainly Shantideva, he is trying to provide a method how to deal with the anger emotion. And then other side of the anger, reverence, respect, love. How to have that. And then how he's saying, Shea yome nyenjurjing, Pemba pame zenamla, Semjen kuja matopar, Shenga shigilen yours. So now this is thinking of how to please victorious and reverence to beings, as I said earlier, right? So this Victoria, as we can, for us, who is the Victoria? For the Buddhism, Buddha is the Victoria one, right? And for the Christianity, God is the Victoria one. And for the Muslims, Allah is the Victoria one. And for those Hindus, and then Judaism and Jewish, whatsoever, everybody has this same concept or understanding that God is Victoria. Is it Victoria? Victorious. God is victorious. Victorious? Huh? Uh-huh. Is it considered in a Christian way? Is it they believe, they have this concept that God is victorious? The mighty God, right? Yeah, so the mighty God. Okay, so whether the exact word is using or not doesn't matter. The meaning is completely there. The mighty God or creating everything means, yeah, victor. When you victor, then it becomes in your control. When it becomes in my control, then me becomes victor of this. So anyway, uh, so for Buddhism, if the Buddhist practitioner, this Victoria could refers to Buddha. And then to those other religions according to their God. And this Victoria could refers to that one, that particular. But this one now here, how they translated, the Buddhas are my true unfailing friends. Boundless are the benefit they bring to me. It's not me. Here, this no need me here. Again. That sounds very selfish. Buddha is, how to say, the Buddhas are my true unfailing friends because boundless are the benefit they bring to me. That's not little bit sound nice. Buddha is good because he is good to me. That's strange translation, I think. In Tibetan, there's a no me, no me. It is just general talking about. And Shenyang is, on the other hand, you may think this way and then to have a reference to the sentient beings. That unwavering kind of like a supporter, unwavering, unmoving or unchanging, unwavering supporter. Here in the Tibetan books itself, it's not saying the Buddhas actually. It is just saying, yeah, actually it refers to the Victoria one, the Buddhas, absolutely. The meaning is there. Yeah. But the word, in a word, that on the other hand, and also the other ways, to understand this way, and you should also pay reverence to the beings by thinking this way, that which is that unwavering or unchanging supporter, right? Supporter who are unchanging their support, unwavering their support to the beings. And then yet they are unfathomable benefiting. They're doing unfathomable benefiting to the beings, right? There's a no actually also the beings reference there too, word two. It is just saying Pemba Pame Zenam Las. That just being unfathomable benefit. And if you really want to please that type of being, the person who is willing to act unfathomable benefit and who is unchanging their support to the, how to say, their support. And in order to please that kind of person, what else you can do rather than support and help to the beings? semjin kuja matokban shinga shigilenenjur. What else you can really make please them? What else you can really pay their kind back other than pleasing the sentient beings? Let me give you this, understand this meaning. Let me give you one example, very easy example. For instance, normally it is happening a lot in a mundane, actually. They use for the trick. You can see in many movies, not just in movies, but in a everyday life. You can see it, this one. Everyday life in a mundane. You are seeing it. You saw it many things already. You will going to seeing it as long as you are alive. And you will going to hear so many times. That's for sure. What is that you heard already so many? You will going to hear so many. What is that you saw so many, and what is that you are seeing it as long as we are alive? Is, for instance, to please the mother. To please the mother, the best way to please the mother is to support their children. Isn't it? And we do it actually in a mundane. When someone wants to make friends with the mother, and they go through the children. They give some candies to the children. They talk nice, be nice to the children. And then this children is the bridge to go to the connect to the mother or parents general. Okay, not only mother, father too. If I want to make with that some particular man, and then he have a son and daughter, let's say. And then for me, if I want to be skillful to make very close friend with him, for me to what I need to do is first please those his son and daughter. As long as I able to please their son and daughter, and he will going to become my friend easily. It just goes without saying. And likewise, in a mundane too, okay? Even this boyfriend, girlfriend. And then they use this kind of indirect method all the time. And when the boys liked it some girls, and then that boys, in order to get at that girl, and what he or he will going to try to do is first make connection with her friends, her around. And then that more or less could becomes like her family members, her parents, brothers, sisters. Make friend with them first. And then go to her. Likewise for the girls too. When they like some boys, they don't just directly go to the boy, right? They just go indirectly. And that is very common sense. They just go indirectly to that particular boy's friend. First talk with his friend, or first talk with his family members, and first convince his family members, then eventually, indirectly, go to that boy. So this is that's what I'm saying. It is happening. It is still happening, okay? This method is very old. This is very ancient method, but it still works. Today's works too. But in the future, it will going to work as long as we are here in this samsara. As long as we have family, friends, this will going to be works until that. But this boyfriend, girlfriend, okay, put it on the side. But this father, parent, and the son, that is something we can use that as an example. But other example is also truth, okay? It is not something fake. It is truth that we're doing it. And then this father, in order me to make a friend with the father, first pleasing their son and daughter. Yes, absolutely, it works. It is working from the 10,000 years before, and it is working today, and it will going to work after 10,000 years too. So likewise, so same manner, same way, this like a Victoria one, the Buddhas, okay, here Buddhas, whose willing to support to beings is unwavering, right? Who's willing to support and help to beings is unwavering. Not just unwavering willing support, but also benefiting immense, unfathomable benefit doing it. He's been done, he is doing it. The Victoria one, the Buddhas doing it. And those kind of beings like a Victoria Buddhas who consider all the beings is like their son and daughter. So now, to please those Buddhas, the Victoria one, there's no greater method than pleasing their son and daughter. This is what it means, Shantideva. From this perspective view, from this understanding, also it is very important for people who really wants to please their victorious, right? The person who really wants to please their victorious, the genuine and true method to please my victorious is to pleasing the sentient beings. Because those sentient beings are there like their son and daughter. If I able to please them, then this Victoria will going to be pleased automatically. Just like how that father getting pleased by pleasing his son and daughter. Just like how that mother getting pleased by pleasing her son and daughter. Does it make sense? This stanza, it's talking about that one. There's no any other better method to pleasing the one's Victoria one rather than reverence to the sentient beings. And this regards, I would like to talk about our holiness characteristic one more here. And some knows our holiness, this characteristic, and some doesn't know this, our holiness characteristic. Therefore, that, what do you call it? Our holiness has this natural in this characteristic, that some knows that. Therefore, we have one Lama in Nepal that's called Ralo Lama. Ralo Lama, he knows our holiness very well. And then he invited our holiness in his monastery to perform some important Drupchen, the puja. At that time, he knows very well our holiness, how he's behaved and how he's think, how he's concerned. So therefore, what he did, he prepared the very nice, clean room for all his assistants. Not only for him, okay? That Ralo Lama paying more focus to prepare properly his all assistants' monks' room than his room. He's being that. The Dalai Lama is doing that. And then some people asked Dalai Lama, because that monks who is working under him, they got amazed, right? Why are you caring so much about their room? You should rather prepare well holiness room. And then he said, no. That is not going to please holiness. If you really want to please holiness, you prepare nice room, perfect for his assistants. By preparing his assistants, all the rooms very perfectly, then even though you don't much care about his room, he will going to please. Exactly here, right? As long as that we reverence to the beings and we care the beings, we support the beings, Buddhas will get peace automatically. Bodhisattvas will get pleased automatically. As how that, for one example, that Our Holiness. Yes, I can definitely say that why Holiness feeling pleased by prepare proper his assistance rooms and every facilities. And when someone doesn't know that, then they prepare holiness rooms very well, and then they care less the rest. And then holiness get mad. I have heard that holiness used to come out and check his assistants' rooms. He asks, do you have good room to rest? I heard that. So that's how it is now. The very way to please those Buddhas is to pleasing those beings to whom they really cares. Like just this parent, how to please the parent, pleasing their son and daughter, which is because to whom they very care, right? Therefore, they get automatically pleased by pleasing them. Semjin Guja Matok Pars. Shengang Shigi Lenengers. So related with this, I have this one very interesting history. This benefiting beings. Okay, so the benefiting beings is the most kind of like a profound, important way to please Buddhas. And then that's regards to this one, that I will tell this how Buddha taught to Ananda. And this is very related with the sutra of Ngaljungido. That's called the Ngaljungido sutra, that describes how babies are born, how babies born. In that sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha mentioning this. But before that, he mentioned he mentioned very thoroughly, as I will going to tell you this history. This history actually, it has a lot of kind of like the important message, not only one or twice. It has a lot of important message within this one history. Okay, that what he said, that while he rest and reciting near this pond, which has a beautiful lotus flower, and he himself and Anand, they are just resting. Nobody else there. They're just resting nearby that clean, beautiful pond, which has a field of those beautiful lotus. And then Anand asks, raised this question to Buddha because Buddha is very relaxed. And then he thought maybe this is right time for me to ask my personal questions. And then he asked these questions that how this normally we human beings are born and how we are spending our life. And then to spend our life in a meaningful way, what should we do? He raised this question to him. And then based on this question, he's answering that first, how we human beings are born, and then how normally we spend our time. And then what is the very way to spend our time in a meaningful? The three. The first, he's describing about how we born. And then Buddha's saying, beings, human beings, okay, this is human beings. Human beings are born out of their mixture, both good and bad karmas. Not only from good karmas, not only from bad karmas. Yes, exactly. Human beings are like that. Human beings are not completely out of bad karma and not completely out of good karma either. So he said, we human beings born out of this mixture, both good and bad karmas. And then at the very beginning, how this our form is formed, how this our physical is formed. And then he said, when the male and female having a intercourse, and because of that condition, and the male sperm and the female's period, is it period? Just period, right? The blood, that monthly period. The monthly period, the male's sperm and female's monthly period, when these two mixed, and then in between there's a karmic wind pushing the conscious in between. When these three things gathered, and it will going to form something. It will going to form our physical. So exactly, this is also one time has this kind of like a, I have heard this between scientific and Dalai Lama having discussion about this one. Actually, they are having discussion about whether there is a previous and next life exist or not. For this conversation, and then to prove that, and Dalai Lama has to prove that when human beings become at this present, there should be some conscious, rather than just these two things, rather than just this, the white and red, right? This sperm and blood. And generally, the scientific, what they're describing is the babies will not going to formed if any of this one is masked or not proper, not perfect. And both needs to be perfect and on time. Then it will going to form the baby, right? And then Dalai Lama asked this question to scientific. And there's, I think he asked, or what the bottom line is, their discussion is concluded in there that it is not guarantee even both is perfect. Even both is perfect on time, still it is possible that it will not going to form the baby. And then Dalai Lama said, that means it is showing there's some other third condition is needed, which is conscious. Conscious has to combine. All these three conditions has to combine. All these three has to be perfect in order to form the baby. Not just two, not just one, absolutely, not just these two, but also needs this consciousness to enter at that moment. And that's scientific also accepting, right? That just having these two perfect will not going to be enough causes and conditions to form the baby. And exactly here, what Buddha is saying is that yes, this all three has to be combined. Leji Jubi Namshe Shute is that out of karma, this conscious will going to be entered in between. Then it will going to form the baby. It will going to form the baby, and then he's using example. Just like when we stir out the milk, it will form the yogurt. Yeah, the milk, that's just milk, right? But when you stir out, and then it will going to form different form. It will going to, what to say, create different form, become different form. He using this example, okay? How it is possible. Then he's using example that possible, it is just like, because when you stir the milk, how it will produce in the form of yogurt. Just like that. And then when this three thing is mixed, it will form the baby. And also using another, just like when cloud gathered, rain happened. And tille metodang, when this sesame seed, if you put on the ground, it will grow something, flower. Right? Sesame seed? Yeah, sesame tree. Not tree, right? Yeah, sesame plant, flower, or whatsoever. And serla mei shuashins, lelungu wang dedu namba naso. And then after the baby formed in the womb, then out of his karmic wind, the baby's karmic wind, and baby will going to experience various pleasant and unpleasant, suffer and happy, sometimes in a womb, happy, and sometimes more time is unhappy, right? It is just like you are tightened up there. So, but however, what Buddha said is that out of his karmic wind, and that baby will going to experience various up and down, this pleasant and unpleasant, happy and unhappy, nyongshings. And then gradually it will going to form bigger and bigger, like a merbo, nurbo, narnarbo, korkorbo. These are the procedure of becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, growing the form. Rimbe Chabas and my Towi Trijimin, all of this because of the growing, the main reason of growing baby, it's because of the warmth of the womb. Warmness of the womb. The warmness of the womb is the main reason that baby is growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Dawa gui pardo until 9 months. Dungaji dushepado meba zone is that unfathomable suffering, pain we're going to experience by this baby. And after completing this period of 9 months, then Bodhicaryāvatāra, and then he's using now how baby is delivered. And he's using example, how when we pull the arrow, how this arrow is going Just like that. Just like that, from the mother, out of this wind, the karmic wind, from the womb, it will going to, how to say, sent out, right? Send it out. And right after deliver, chipa de kengyal dunyal, then this baby is just laying down in an upside up. That's what she's saying. Chaitanya Buddha saying. And kadang, chi mai nundokzins, and then open mouth, and then this tongue try to hold the mother's nipple, right? Chew the nipple, the breast nipple. Nusho thunga chamle, and then just able to drink that milk from the breast of mother. Other than that, the baby is unable to hear anything, understand anything, see anything. Nawe daden migo migi jishin mithong, that not being able to see properly everything. It is very blurry. The Buddha is very scientific here. And then one interesting thing here, yes, this is very important to understand, all of us. What he said is, that out of their previous habitual, they will going to experience various suffering. This is all talking after delivered, okay, after born. You see, that's why Buddha said that normally what we consider when baby cries, okay, baby is crying, maybe out of hunger, maybe feeling cold or hot, or maybe bite by something, and maybe improper way of laying down or staying. Normally, we have only this concept, why baby is crying. But what Buddha adding extra is, Buddha baby will going to cry also because of his previous habit. When this previous memory triggers, and then that baby will going to cry. Means like a previous memory, even in a womb, how much he suffered by completely unable to move. Those memory are also that baby has this strong habit of that at that moment. That new habit is yet to make, right? New habit is not there at that moment. Only that baby has is the old habit. So the old habit, what baby has is just delivered, right? So just delivered means he have a habit of in a womb, he have a habit of intermediate state, and he have a habit of previous life. So in the intermediate state, how much scary fear that has to experience. And all those memory will going to trigger. And then likewise, the womb's experience. And then previous life, if the baby is died by some very scary coincidence, then that will going to trigger, that memory will going to trigger. So what Buddha is saying is, that could be the reason for baby cry too. Not only baby cry because of hungry or because of thirsty or because of heat or cold, or not just that. This is also the reason that why baby cries. And this is something, how to say, with my own experience, also it made it make sense. That even right after baby born, that when we perform some rituals to dispel out the obstacles and then the cleansing of the ritual, And after that, baby is becoming very calm. There is something, it seems like baby cry more because of previous memory trigger, not more because of hungry and all those. Other than that, why just after this perform ritual, baby become calm? Why? And this performing ritual doesn't make baby full stomach, doesn't make baby heat, doesn't make baby cold, doesn't make baby unthirsty, right? The thirsty, hunger, feeling cold, heat, it's there. Just being a human, it is just there. This ritual is not any helping with that. The ritual is mainly helping with the dispelling out those obstacles, which is those habit, this memories, that bad memories. Therefore, baby becomes calm. Even my own niece, when this Tupten Pema, I did this ritual. And then as well as not just my niece, but also some other that my friends, their babies, they bring their baby here and then they ask to perform some rituals to dispel out and cleansing ritual. And then I also heard from those my friend that after perform this, and baby sleep very well, not crying much on the night time. And that makes parents to also very get good rest. That's a win-win situation. So anyhow, the point here is the baby cries because of their habit too. Okay, not only the reason that why what this our eye and this our limit concept can see. And this kind of habit and those habit and trigger memory triggers makes baby cry, it's out of our concept. It is out of able to see our from this our eye. Never try to see that. You will not going to see it. But somehow, yes, how Buddha mentioning here, that out of, it's saying, out of his previous habit, and he will going to suffer a lot. The baby will going to suffer a lot. And then that very ignorant baby, Shakyamuni Buddha saying, yes, at that moment, baby is very ignorant. This very ignorant baby is just able to recognize the mother because of the milk. Because of the milk, that baby will going to able to recognize the mother. Maldenji kuji nemba na yayodan socha chame sawaso migewa na mangwe narwe nguya tsinilamishes. And then all as well as also other reasons that baby will going to cry because of the bed not proper, because of the rolling here and there, and then because of the bitten by insects, right? Insects, and so forth. That Buddha said, and so forth. Migyo namba mambu narves, and so forth, that the baby will going to torment by many other small reasons. Therefore, baby will going to cry, yet baby will fail to express out. Nyomombe dunga misepe chingwe lentroye zidanji namshik yana saljeji yege dradun sindrumashins. In this way, that baby will going to undergo all this experience. And then gradually, rembe korwa thanme chingwe lentroye zidanji. And gradually, because we have a lot of karma accumulated in the past. And then eventually that baby growth a little bit, and then it will going to begin to recognize the alphabet and vowels. Young down, salji, ige dadun sintu machines, and then some able to recognize some letter and some languages. That is also very true, right? When baby say, there's a so many moment parent becomes very happy, and when baby talk, oh, that's the very exciting time. And when baby scroll, and that is very exciting moment. And when baby stand, oh, then more exciting. So many exciting moments for the parents is there while having this baby, isn't it? That I think you know better than me. So I don't know much about this yet. Okay, anyway, so maybe today I just stop here. Tomorrow we can continue this history. Okay, this history, mainly this 3 point, okay, from this history. How we human being born, and how we raised up, how we spent our life, and then to spend our life in a meaningful way, what should we do? That's the main theme of this history. And within this history also we're going to relate it with this stanza, that is stanza 119, that how it is there that the pleasing the beings is the most greatest method to please the Buddhas. That's what we're talking about the mainly, right? Okay, so today time is over, so I will going to stop here. And we dedicate so read this dedication of beneficial activity as you can see in your screen. Senam de tamje ziba ni tomne nye bendanam pamje ne shega nanchi walan chubai sibe tolendo ando warasho jambal pawe jidara kimbanda kundos Leon de jende de da kunji jesun da lobjin gewan de dan tamje rabdungo gewan de she okun sanam yeshe tozo ne sanam yeshe le jonwe tamba kunyin tobarasho sanje kusum nyebe chenlamda chunyi minjur dembe chenlamda genden meche dembe chenlamji by this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscient, and having vanquished the harmful enemies, greed, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the waves of birth, aging, illness, and death in the ocean of becoming. By conforming to the knowledge of courageous Manjushri, Jambalyang, and in the same way as Samendabhadra, Kundusambo, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all this virtue. By this virtue, may all being perfectly achieve the accumulation of merit, Sunam, and wisdom, Yeshi, and may they thereafter obtain the 2 holy bodies, which result from these 2 accumulation. By the blessing of the Buddha, Sanjay, who obtained the 3 bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmata, Chunyi, by the blessing of the infallible aspiration of the Sangha, Gendin, May this prayer of dedication be accomplished just as it is. Okay, so thank you. Have a good rest. See you, Tomato.